And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't.
So Josh, I'm so glad you found this one because, I mean, truly, this is the Twilight Zone to end all Twilight Zones. So I've been noticing that, of course, Democrats are trying to do the cool new hip thing of going on podcasts and having long form discussions. And I am not a body language expert, but I would imagine, and I'd love to get this in front of a body language expert.
That would be very fun.
The amount of fun someone would have with that if they were able to break this down, I can't even believe it. Elizabeth Warren goes on a left-wing podcast and
normally
gets confronted.
She goes on like Meet the Press. So I'm going to try something.
Exactly.
New. I'm going to go on a podcast.
Long form. It's unbelievable. And I got to play it.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
Oh my gosh,
I said
dude.
I had not seen decline. And I hadn't.
Yo.
At that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
She just gives up.
It is, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
She's like,
okay.
deflect, defer, moving on. She just gave up. She just lay down and died on that one.
We got to go back to that.
There was nowhere to go. You guys got to watch the video.
This is okay. I'm going to
replay
replay
listening
it.
to us on the podcast.
Yeah.
You just have
to watch
our YouTube video of this
Yep.
so you can see her body language. She just folds like a cheap tent.
Watch this. This like, ooh. And she smiles a little bit and then has to she just betrayed herself basically. It's like kind of laughed. How do you
Man.
How could you not? So I will say, Gavin Newsom is trying his best. And you know what? This is actually a legitimate point. That's true, I think. The means of running for public office and keeping it is completely different with the internet. And I'm a digital native. I've always had it. But, the Elizabeth Warrens of the world, you release press statements, you do friendly interviews, you get your sound bites out to people, you send your mailers, you say what people want you to say, and you talk to your lobbyists, you shake their hands.
Yeah.
Those days are over. The expectations are so much higher.
CBS or CNN or MSNBC, but then doing these long form podcasts, and you get questions that are just unfiltered, that aren't like, hey, he was kind of like half dead. Like, how did you say he was so sharp? And so like these senators are like,
which is what I have been wanting to say to them for years.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like deer that stumbled onto the interstate.
Yeah.
Like what's going on?
Right. Yeah, it's much more like hearkening back to the era of like the Lincoln Douglas debate, right? Where you have these people, they get up and they just have to stand in front of a crowd for 3 hours and they can give their speeches, but people are heckling and like shouting questions, and then there's a town hall. It's sort of like that, but transferred online, maybe digital.
Oh, very true, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Because they got like 40 minutes of sound bites, but then after that they're like and you run out of stuff,
Yep.
There's a weird digital in between of the Lincoln Douglas and then where we are now, where there's enough digital to kind of put it up, but now think live podcasts, we don't edit this, we throw it up. Like if you're going to step into this arena, the moments are going to happen. It's too late. It's already out there by the time you even. And one thing you brought this up too, I think it's a real indictment. Well, it's a legitimacy crisis for many Democrats and I think a real warning for just politics in general.
Yeah, anyone who wants to go into it.
If you do this for Trump and his mental acuity goes and people are defending him, you have the same problems that Democrats have now. So I will say keep this as a warning, right? Like call balls and strikes. And I understand the art of politics and being on a team, but this clearly went too far. And then it was a real indictment of the media, quote unquote media. I saw this really done well by Dwight from The Office, of all people. He had on Stephanie Ruhle, from MSNBC, who was a huge time mouthpiece of the machine. And I mean, I can't say anybody.
Americans don't trust mainstream media. Why is that? How did we get here?
Listen, we are seeing a huge loss in trust of all of our institutions. It's the media, it's medicine, it's banking. It's a huge problem because when you think about democracy and all of these pillars, they need to stand tall. They need to stand strong. And sort of losing that trust is not by accident. It's by design. If you remember when President Trump was running the first time, Steve Bannon once said, the goal is to blow the whole thing up. And so I think that you've got mistakes made or things starting to slip, while at the same time there's a concerted effort to destroy the media, because the media, the news media, is, in my opinion, the last line of defense of holding power accountable, right? And you had a bit of a perfect storm, right? President Trump won, and tons of people were shocked or angry or frustrated, and they're tuning out. And at the same time, you have the Elon Musk media machine, because they want you to leave traditional media and they want you to go to X, which is a bastion of misinformation where there is no fact checking. So it's a perfect storm of people saying, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tuning out, I'm disconnecting. And then you have a force pushing it. But even in the last 2 weeks, what we need to do is just cover what's happening in America, right? We have to cover Democrats trying to figure out what their lane is and how they're going to get back on their feet. And we have to simply cover what this White House is doing. And I think if we do that, right, there's that saying, you know, trust is gained in raindrops and it's lost in buckets. And it's not yes, you're not incorrect that the media has lost trust.
This is where I would push back. When I see this kind of insight and passion being directed at the current administration, and the lack of this kind of insight and passion being directed at the previous administration, where, again, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about left-leaning news media organizations were kind of like, la, 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 everything's fine. Look, the environment's, look, the economy's great, la, 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 immigration's not that much of a problem. And really being Cleopatra, queen of denial.
You just got dunked on by Dwight.
Queen of Denial. That was funny. I love
it.
That was a dad joke. That was great.